There is a moment every gardener knows. You walk out in the morning with your coffee, still warm in your hand, and you find your plants. Not the way you left them. The leaves are stippled and pale where something has been feeding on them in the dark. The undersides are sticky with the kind of mess that only aphids leave behind. The new growth at the tips is curled tight and going yellow. And somewhere in there, on a bean plant or a squash leaf or the stem of a tomato that was doing so well last week, you find the damage and you know that whatever did it is still here, still feeding, and will be back tonight to finish what it started. And you know what most people do next? They go to the garden center and they come home with a spray that promises to handle it. And it does handle it for a while. But that spray does not read the difference between an aphid and a bee. It does not know a spider mite from a ladybug. It kills what it touches. And what it touches includes everything you were counting on to make your garden actually work. The pollinators, the predators, the whole web of small lives that keeps a garden in balance. You solve the aphid and you lose the bee. And without the bee, the garden does not fruit. My name is Esther Yoder. I keep house and a large kitchen garden here in Lancaster County with my husband and our 7 children. We do not spray anything on our food that we would not want our children to eat, and we have not needed to for many years. Because there is one bottle already in most people's kitchens that handles the soft-bodied pests and leaves the bees and the beneficials entirely alone. And once you understand why it works that way, you will never reach for the chemical spray again. Before I show you what it is, I want to show you why the chemical sprays fail your garden even when they appear to work. A contact pesticide has no preference. It is built to kill insects, and it kills them by the category of insect, which is to say it kills all of them. The aphids on your bean plants, yes, but also the lacewings that were about to eat those aphids for you. The parasitic wasps that lay their eggs inside caterpillars and control your caterpillar problem without any help from you at all. The ground beetles that hunt cutworms at night. The hoverflies whose larvae eat aphids by the hundreds and whose adults pollinate nearly as well as bees do. All of it, gone. And what comes back first after a spray is never the beneficials. They take weeks to return. What comes back first is the pest, because pests reproduce faster than everything that eats them. So you spray again, and again. And each time you spray, you kill a little more of the living balance that was trying to establish itself, and the pests come back a little faster because there is less and less standing in their way. The garden becomes dependent on the spray, the way a body becomes dependent on something it never needed in the first place. My grandmother never broke that balance. She kept it. What I use is neem oil, cold-pressed neem oil from the neem tree, which has been used in gardens and on farms across Asia and the Middle East for thousands of years. It is pressed from the seed of the tree, the way olive oil is pressed from the olive, and it contains a compound called azadirachtin that disrupts the life cycle of soft-bodied insects in a way that nothing else does quite so cleanly. It costs between $8 and $15 for a bottle that, mixed at the right dilution, treats a full kitchen garden for an entire season. You can find it at any garden center, many hardware stores, and most online suppliers. It smells strongly of garlic and something slightly bitter, and that smell will pass. What will not pass is the garden pest that tried to set up home in your squash. Here is the simple sense of how it works, and it is worth understanding because once you see it, you will know why it is safe, where the spray is not. Azadirachtin, the active compound in neem oil, works by mimicking a hormone that soft-bodied insects need to complete their life cycle. When they ingest it or absorb it through their bodies, it interferes with their ability to molt, to feed, and to reproduce. They do not die dramatically on the spot. They stop developing. They stop laying eggs. They stop feeding. And within a generation or two, the population collapses because no new insects are completing their life cycle to replace the ones dying off naturally. Here is why the bees and the beneficials are safe. Bees do not feed on your plant tissue. They visit the flower, collect the pollen and the nectar, and leave. They do not ingest the neem oil in any meaningful quantity. And because neem oil breaks down quickly in sunlight and air, within 2 to 4 days, it is largely gone from the plant surface. If you spray in the evening, after the bees have gone in for the night, the oil does the work overnight and is well on its way to breaking down before the first bee arrives in the morning. Here is exactly how to mix and use it. You will need cold-pressed neem oil, plain dish, soap, and water. The dish soap is the emulsifier. Neem oil and water do not mix on their own, and the soap is what holds them together in the spray. In a clean spray bottle or a garden sprayer, combine 1 gallon of warm water with 2 tablespoons of neem oil and 1 teaspoon of plain dish soap. Warm water helps the oil incorporate. Shake it well before every single spray and keep shaking as you go because it will want to separate. This is not something you mix and set aside. It is something you mix and use. Spray in the evening, always in the evening. Not in the heat of the day when the sun will burn the oil into the leaves, and not in the morning when the bees are already working. Evening, after the light softens and the bees have gone home. Coat both the tops and the undersides of the leaves thoroughly because that is where the pests feed and hide, the undersides especially. Check the undersides of every leaf you treat and make sure the spray reaches there. Apply once a week as a prevention and every 3 to 4 days if you have an active infestation. Neem oil works best when used consistently and before the damage is severe. It is not a rescue treatment for a plant that has already been overwhelmed. It is a steady management tool that keeps the pest population from ever building to the point where they overwhelm the plant. Think of it the way you think of keeping the kitchen clean instead of waiting for the infestation to start. Prevention is the whole game. One honest word, as always, because you deserve it. Neem oil works beautifully on soft-bodied pests, aphids, spider mites, whiteflies, mealybugs, scale insects in their early stages, thrips, fungus gnats, and the larvae of many leaf-eating insects. It is not your answer for hard-shelled beetles or for the adult stage of most moths and butterflies. And it will not fix a plant that has already been eaten to the stem. If the damage is that far gone, remove the plant, compost what is clean, and start fresh with protection from the first day. There is one more thing neem oil does in a garden that most people never think to use it for, and it is the thing that has saved our squash more times than I can count. Neem oil is a fungicide as well as an insecticide. That powdery white coating that shows up on squash leaves and cucumber leaves and pumpkin vines every August, the one that spreads from plant to plant and collapses the vine before the fruit is done. That is powdery mildew, and neem oil stops it cold. Spray the leaves at the first sign of it, before it has spread beyond a few leaves, and it will not take the vine. Spray weekly through the season, and it will not start. So here's what I would ask of you. Go and find 1 bottle of cold-pressed neem oil this week. Mix it the way I told you, warm water, 2 tablespoons of oil, 1 teaspoon of dish soap, shake well, spray in the evening. Do it once a week on whatever you are growing and watch what changes over the course of a month. And then come back down to the comments and tell me 2 things. What county you live in and how old your house is. I read every one of them and I learned things from what you all write that I could not learn any other way. The garden does not need chemicals. It needs the right thing. And now you have it.